Imagine a hospital where the most accurate diagnostician has actually never gone to medical school.
Right.
Or, a stock market where millions of everyday people suddenly share the exact same financial brain, instantly processing every global event the second it happens.
Which is a wild thing to picture.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, this isn't a pitch for a science fiction movie. This is the reality of the news stack we're looking at today from May 25, 2026.
Exactly.
Welcome to today's deep dive. Today we're opening up a curated look at artificial intelligence. But our mission for this deep dive isn't just to rattle off a list of technological updates or like software patches.
No, that wouldn't give you the full picture.
Right. We are going to examine the implications of what happens when AI completely transforms four fundamental pillars of human society. So we're looking at healthcare, finance, art, and education.
And that framing is crucial, really, because when you look closely at these sources, you realize we've been making a massive category error for years. Well, we've spent years viewing AI as just another isolated tool. We thought of it like a better calculator or a more efficient search engine.
Right, something you just pick up and use.
Exactly. But the developments we're analyzing today reveal something much more profound. AI is a pervasive, transformative force. As we move through these four pillars, I invite you, listening right now, to pay attention to a very specific pattern.
It's a really clear pattern once you see it.
It is. Watch how this technology is fundamentally altering traditional human roles. We aren't just changing the instruments we use, we're actually changing the very nature of the work itself.
Yeah, the distinction changing the nature of the work rather than just the tools is it's perfectly illustrated in our first pillar today, which is healthcare.
It's a huge shift.
Massive. We have this major breakthrough from researchers at a leading university, and they've unveiled an AI system that is completely upending early disease detection.
Yes, the clinical trial results are staggering.
The headline here is that this system, which, was trained on thousands upon thousands of medical images, like X-rays and MRIs, is consistently detecting microscopic patterns that the most seasoned, highly trained human radiologists are just missing.
Yeah, they just can't see them.
Right. In the initial tests detailed in our sources, it's catching early markers for lung cancer and Alzheimer's disease far earlier than traditional methods.
What's fascinating here is the actual mechanism making this possible, because it explains why human eyes are falling behind.
Okay, break that down for us.
So this isn't just a machine that has memorized a digital textbook of what a full-blown tumor looks like. This system relies on deep learning algorithms.
Meaning it's doing more than just matching pictures.
Exactly. Instead of looking at an MRI as a single cohesive picture, which is the way a human radiologist naturally does, the algorithm breaks that scan down into millions of individual pixels.
Wow. Millions.
Millions. And then it cross-references the subtle, almost imperceptible shading of those pixels against tens of thousands of historical scans.
So it's looking at shading we can't even perceive.
Right. It's identifying microscopic tissue density changes that precede a visible tumor by months or even years. And it evaluates its own performance and improves its accuracy with every single scan it processes.
Okay, so to put that in perspective for you listening, it's like having a master detective who has personally investigated and memorized the granular details of like 10 million past crime scenes.
That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah, and when they walk into a new room, they don't just look around the way you or I would. They instantly spot the microscopic dust pattern on the windowsill that, perfectly matches a break-in they analyzed from 5 years ago.
Right.
It's a completely different way of seeing.
That's a highly accurate way to visualize it.
Yeah.
And the implications for the patient, for you, are monumental.
Yeah.
Because in conditions like lung cancer or Alzheimer's, time is the ultimate currency.
Every single day matters.
Absolutely. Earlier detection equals earlier intervention. This shift completely redefines modern medical treatment. We're moving from a reactive model.
Where we wait until we see the lump.
Exactly. Where we aggressively treat a disease once it's severe enough for a human to spot. And we're moving to a highly proactive model. It intercepts the disease before it can even establish a foothold.
Okay, let's unpack this because the sheer capability of this pixel-level analysis creates a massive friction point, I think.
It definitely disrupts the status quo.
Right. If the AI is consistently seeing things that seasoned, highly trained doctors miss, and it's catching diseases years earlier, does the AI eventually become the primary physician?
Ah, that's the big fear.
Yeah. Does the human doctor, despite all their years of medical school, just get relegated to rubber stamping the machine's diagnosis? Because honestly, say if the machine is always right, challenging it becomes almost medically irresponsible.
It's a daunting prospect, for sure, and you're highlighting the core tension in modern medicine right now. But I think viewing this strictly as a replacement misinterprets the reality of medical care.
How do you mean?
Well, the AI is unparalleled at pattern recognition. It can definitively spot the anomaly in the pixel shading of an MRI. But a diagnosis, a true medical diagnosis, is vastly more complex than just spotting an anomaly.
There's a human element.
A huge one. It requires understanding the patient's lifestyle, their family dynamics, their mental resilience, and, their personal values regarding aggressive versus palliative treatment options.
Right. The algorithm doesn't know how a patient handles bad news or what their support system looks like at home.
Precisely. The machine provides the data, but the physician provides the wisdom to navigate that data.
That's a great distinction.
Yeah, if anything, removing the incredibly tedious, exhausting task of manually scanning hundreds of black and white images frees the doctor up. It allows them to actually be more human, to spend their time sitting with the patient, strategizing what that early detection means for their specific life.
So the AI is deployed to master the microscopic physical patterns of the human body, leaving the human doctor to manage the human experience. That makes logical sense. But let's look at what happens when that exact same pattern recognition capability is pointed away from biology and toward human behavior. Because our second pillar today is finance.
Yes, moving from the physical world to the behavioral world.
Our sources detail a new AI-driven platform launched by a prominent financial tech company, and it's designed to forecast stock movements with an accuracy that is frankly making traditional analysts panic.
It's sending shockwaves through the industry.
Yeah, and how it achieves this accuracy is by swallowing data sets so vast they're almost incomprehensible. This AI isn't just like reading a company's quarterly earnings report.
No, it's doing way more than that.
Right. It's simultaneously analyzing global social media trends, minute-by-minute economic indicators, supply chain logistics, and decades of historical market data. And it processes all of that in real time to predict where a specific stock is going to move.
The mechanism here is synthesis on a scale we just haven't seen before. And the key concept that financial analysts in our sources are focused on is democratizing investing.
Right, taking the power from the few and giving it to the many.
Exactly. Historically, the ability to synthesize that level of chaotic global data required massive computing power and armies of analysts. Only institutional Wall Street firms had that structural advantage. But now, this new platform provides those exact same insights directly to retail investors. It takes the analytical power of a major hedge fund and puts it on a smartphone. In theory, it has the potential to completely level the financial playing field.
It's an incredible shift in leverage. It's literally like handing a regular person the VIP key to Wall Street.
It really is.
You're giving an individual the ability to simultaneously listen to the real-time whispers of millions of consumers while instantly cross-referencing those whispers with 50 years of historical market crashes and booms.
It's unprecedented power for the individual.
Right, here's where it gets really interesting. If this tool actually works and it truly democratizes investing, suddenly everyone is using it, from the massive institutional fund to the person day trading on their couch.
Right.
If millions of people are using the exact same AI to predict the market based on the exact same global data, doesn't the market just become an unpredictable echo chamber of AI predictions?
That is a terrifying thought, honestly. And you've hit on a paradox that is keeping economists awake at night.
I can imagine.
The sources we're reviewing are very careful to warn about the inherent danger of over-reliance here. Let's trace the logic. If the AI predicts a stock will rise based on social media sentiment, and millions of users trust the AI and immediately buy the stock rises.
It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. But the underlying value of the company hasn't actually changed. They didn't invent a new product or increase their revenue, only the algorithmic sentiment changed.
So the market detaches from reality.
Yeah, if everyone is reacting to the algorithm's reaction, you risk creating massive high-speed feedback loops. Markets are ultimately driven by human psychology.
Right, fear and greed.
It's exactly. Introducing a highly rational, hyper-fast computational tool into a highly emotional environment doesn't necessarily create stability. It can actually create entirely new forms of volatility. A machine can predict historical trends flawlessly, but it cannot guarantee the future when its own predictions begin altering the present.
Wow. So we have AI crunching the hard data of human biology and synthesizing the massive behavioral data sets of the global financial markets.
It's a lot to take in.
It is jarring, but we can kind of wrap our heads around it because it's fundamentally about processing math and logic. But that leads us directly to our third pillar, which completely shattered my
Oh,
preconceptions.
this one is fascinating.
Yeah, because what happens when you point that exact same pattern recognition technology at something that is deeply subjective?
Let's talk about the creative arts.
Exactly. The sources detail a breakthrough AI program that is now actively composing music. And the phrase analysts use over and over to describe this music is eerily human-like.
It's hard to tell the difference now.
It really is. This system is essentially doing what the finance AI did, but with art. It analyzes vast arrays of past musical compositions. It deconstructs the music theory, the structural pacing, the tension and release.
Breaking down the math of the
Well,
music.
then it generates entirely original pieces that seamlessly blend classical influences with highly modern styles. The resulting compositions are being described as incredibly innovative.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you can see a deep philosophical fracture happening within the artistic community right now. The sources highlight two distinct reactions.
What's the first one?
On one side of the spectrum, you have purists who are deeply concerned, and understandably so. Their fear is that an AI, with its infinite capacity to generate variations and mathematically perfect structures, will simply overwhelm the market and overshadow human creativity.
I mean, why hire a composer for a film score if an AI can generate 50 brilliant variations in 3 seconds?
Exactly. Which is a very real economic threat to an artist.
It's terrifying for them.
It is. But on the other side of the debate, you have working musicians and composers who are taking the exact opposite approach. They aren't running from the technology. They're actively integrating these AI-generated pieces into their workflow.
Like using it as a tool.
Right.
Yeah.
They use the AI for rapid prototyping, for breaking through writer's block, and even incorporating the AI's unexpected chord progressions into live performances. They're treating this technology as a collaborative new frontier rather than a replacement.
It fundamentally challenges how we even define the creation of art. It's like having the ultimate DJ who possesses an infinite record collection of literally every song ever written across human history.
That's a great analogy.
And this DJ can mash them up, manipulate the individual stems, and find hidden structural harmonies between a 17th century symphony and a modern pop track
Wow.
in ways a human brain just couldn't naturally process. But pushing back on this for a second.
Go ahead.
If the AI is just analyzing past compositions, if it's just looking at Beethoven and looking at modern pop and mathematically blending their structures together, is it actually creating something new? Or is it just doing incredibly sophisticated, high-speed musical recycling?
That is the ultimate question. Is synthesis the same thing as creation? It's easy to dismiss the AI as just a high-speed recycler, but if we're being completely honest, you have to ask yourself, isn't that exactly what human artists do?
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, every human composer is a product of their influences. They study the greats, they internalize the structures of classical music they heard growing up, they feel the rhythm of modern styles on the radio, and they synthesize those past experiences into something personal.
So they're remixing, too.
Exactly, they're remixing their influences. The AI is performing that exact same mechanical process of synthesis, it's just doing it at a scale and speed we can't comprehend.
That's a wild perspective.
The tool isn't just generating music. It's forcing us into a profound, uncomfortable conversation about what the word creativity actually means in an age of intelligent machines. It proves that AI's reach isn't just limited to cold logic and numbers. It's now deeply entangled in the most subjective, expressive human endeavors we have.
Which is beautiful, but also incredibly disruptive.
Yeah.
Because if AI is operating at a masterful level in our hospitals, in our financial markets, and in our recording studios, we have to face a massive societal realization.
Me too.
If this is the ecosystem we're building, if this is the reality of the world we live in right now, how on earth do we prepare the next generation to actually thrive in it?
Which seamlessly introduces our fourth and final pillar today, education.
The classroom.
According to the New Stack, there is a massive initiative currently underway to integrate AI directly into school curriculums. The explicit goal is to prepare students for a tech-dominated future.
And we aren't just talking about, like, an elective class.
No, to be clear, we aren't just talking about adding a how-to code class to the schedule. Educators are introducing AI-driven tools that fundamentally alter the architecture of learning, specifically through highly personalized learning paths and individualized virtual tutors.
The mechanics of this are wild. It's essentially like every single student, regardless of their zip code or background, is suddenly assigned their own billionaire's private tutor.
That is exactly what it is.
A tutor that never gets tired, never gets frustrated, and is perfectly calibrated to the exact neurological way that specific student's brain absorbs information.
The upside is staggering. Think about the historical limitations of a traditional classroom. You have one teacher trying to address the unique learning speeds, reading levels, and attention spans of 30 different students simultaneously.
It's an impossible logistical bottleneck.
It really is.
Yeah.
But with an AI virtual tutor, you have accessible, hyper-tailored education. The AI can instantly recognize if a student needs a visual representation to grasp a fraction, or if they need an extra 10 minutes on a historical concept, and it adapts the lesson plan on the fly.
That sounds incredible.
It is. However,
Yeah.
this raises an important question. The sources rightly spotlight some severe concerns that come with this utopian vision, specifically regarding the privacy of student data.
Right, because for the AI to perfectly calibrate to a kid's brain, it needs data.
A lot of data.
It has to track exactly how long they hesitate on a math question, where their eyes move on the screen, what specific phrasing frustrates them, and when they lose focus. To tailor the education, the AI has to build a comprehensive psychological and behavioral profile of a 10-year-old.
Exactly. In order for the technology to work, it requires an unprecedented level of surveillance over a child's cognitive process. Who owns that psychological profile? How is it stored?
Could it be used against them later?
Is it ever used to track a student's potential career trajectory? The sources indicate that policymakers are severely lagging behind the technology in answering these questions.
So what does this all mean for the human at the front of the room? If an AI virtual tutor is handling the actual personalized day-to-day instruction of the academic material because, it can do it faster and more efficiently, what happens to the human teacher?
It's a huge shift in identity for them.
Do they stop being an educator in the traditional sense? Do they just become a classroom manager making sure the kids keep their headsets charged?
If we look at the pattern established in the other pillars, the role doesn't diminish, it elevates. Think back to our discussion about the radiologists.
Okay, where the AI handles the microscopic stuff.
Right. Just as the AI takes the heavy lifting of microscopic pattern recognition off the physician, the AI tutor takes the heavy lifting of rote academic instruction off the teacher. This allows the human educator to focus entirely on the things a machine fundamentally cannot do.
Like what, specifically?
Teaching empathy, facilitating complex peer collaboration, helping a student navigate the emotional frustration of failure, fostering a genuine sense of curiosity.
Ah, the human elements.
Exactly. An algorithm can teach a student how to solve a quadratic equation flawlessly, but it cannot teach a student how to be resilient. Schools are realizing that in a highly automated, tech-savvy society, the most valuable and scarce resource a human teacher can provide is their humanity.
That's powerful.
Their role shifts from being an information delivery system to being an emotional and developmental guide.
Wow. When you lay it all out like that, connecting the dots across all four pillars, the sheer scale of the shift is breathtaking.
It really changes everything.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I really want you, listening right now, to think about the ground we just covered. We moved from an AI seeing microscopic diseases hidden deep in our tissue to predicting the massive, chaotic ebb and flow of the global stock market. From composing complex symphonies that blend centuries of musical history to acting as an infinitely patient, personalized tutor mapping the minds of our children, AI is no longer just a tool we pick up when we need it and put down when we're done.
No, it's far beyond that.
It has become an ecosystem that we are rapidly learning to live inside.
And the common thread across every single one of these fields, healthcare, finance, art, and education, is that AI is forcing a systemic evolution. It's actively forcing us to redefine what it means to be a doctor, what it means to be an investor, an artist, and a teacher.
It's pushing us.
By mastering the mechanical, data-heavy aspects of these roles, the technology is stripping away the busy work. It's pushing us, sometimes uncomfortably, to lean entirely into the irreplaceable, fundamentally human aspects of our professions.
And that leads to a final thought I want to leave you with today. Something to mull over on your commute or while you're making dinner tonight. We've seen today how AI is taking over the heavy lifting of finding answers. Whether it's finding the exact location of a tumor on an MRI, finding a profitable trend in the stock market, or finding the perfect structural chord progression for a song, the machine is rapidly becoming the ultimate instantaneous answer giver.
It is.
So if the machine is going to have all the answers, Perhaps the most vital human skill we can cultivate in ourselves and in our children is simply learning how to ask better questions.
That is exactly the right takeaway for where we are heading.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. As this technology continues to weave itself invisibly into the fabric of our everyday lives, we'll be right here to help you unpack it, challenge it, and make sense of it all. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and stay curious.